Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another CNC Router Mixer. It's 7 o'clock Eastern Time. That's when we start and talk about anything that you'd like to discuss that is CNC router table related. You're in the CNC Router Tips group. I'm so glad to get the chance to speak with you guys again, and I hope that some of you will join us. There will be a link inside of the Facebook uh, comment section for this video with a link on how you can join us. Just click the link and come on over and talk. It's been quite a busy week for me. I've been doing quite a bit of writing this week and getting a few things um, done. Um, I'm also building a sales funnel for a couple of people. So that's been kind of keeping me busy and out of the shop. Um, it just goes that way. You spread your time around the way that you can, and hopefully you get most things done and move on. Also got to spend a little bit of time on one of my um, first hobby loves, which is radio control stuff, flying electric powered airplanes and helicopters and things like that. So um, kind of cool. I originally got into CNC because of my radio control addiction. I wanted to make airplane parts and things like that with the CNC router. So anyway, we've got Marsh coming on. How you doing this week, Marsh?
I'm doing okay. I
Excellent. Nice hat.
oh, thanks.
Thank you for
Yeah,
your
I
service.
discovered a couple of issues. Um, this is the first time I wrote a cam routine where I need to change a tool,
Hmm.
and apparently with the personal version of Fusion 360, you can't do that.
Ah, yeah, they limited a bunch of things recently. I don't know specifically anymore what those limitations are. I know that they changed the ability to do rapids at one point. I don't know if they put that back in. And
That's there.
yeah, and I don't know about the auto tool changer. So it sounds like they disabled auto tool change and gave you back the rapids.
You know, I would like uh I would be willing to pay for it, but I don't. Well, I base my financial well-being on absence of recurring monthly payments, so I would
Yes,
just like to charge me once.
yeah. Um, what I did in that, because I'm very similar in that respect. I'd rather just get it done once and not worry about it. Um, they had a 3-year subscription that you could buy. And it was like buying a copy of Aspire, basically. Well, maybe half of that. I don't know. I think it was about 12 um, or so. Um, and then you had a 3-year subscription. The downside of that is when the 3 years was up and they charged me again and I wasn't ready.
And it was probably a new price as well.
Slightly more, yeah, but it wasn't terrible crazy, but it was like, wait, I just had money there. What happened to it? It's gone. Uh,
So, is there are there any other people that I can't see?
Not so far. I'll check in
Okay,
the waiting room.
because I heard you talking, and
Yeah,
it sounded like you were talking to somebody else.
myself mostly.
Oh,
Until you
okay.
came along, I was just talking to the folks in the group because this is being live streamed inside of the CNC Router Tips group.
Oh, okay. Okay, but
Yeah,
they can't talk. They can only hear.
right.
They're they're
They
lurking.
can lurk. They can make post comments inside of the um, the thread for that particular episode, but that's about it. Um,
Oh, okay.
I'd prefer that they come on and talk to us, tell us what's going on, Um, Mike,
Well,
Mike is usually here, this, every week, but, Mike is, out of town this week, so he will catch us next time.
so I solved this problem. Uh, they do not prohibit you from creating multiple setups. So you just have to create a separate setup for each tool
Hmm.
and a separate post process for each action.
Yeah. A separate post process? What do you mean? I know what a post
Uh,
process is, but what do you mean by that?
uh, you have to create a separate uh, G code file for each setup.
For each operation. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I've did that before, before I got my Tormach, when I had the, Grizzly, um, milling machine that I converted to CNC. Is a G0704. Um, it had no tool changer, and so anytime I wanted to do another tool, I had to write another set of G code for it,
Well,
because either that or put in the, M0s and M01s that would have it momentarily pause between. But you still would have, actually, there wasn't an easy way to do what I was doing, so I just separated each one into its own G code section and just ran it that way. I knew tool one, do this operation, and I just tried to do every operation I could with the same tool, before I, swapped out and lost the zero. Yeah. Hey, Randy, what's up? Randy will be with us shortly, it looks like.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of things
Hi guys.
where, hey, I I do a lot of things where the workpiece is way bigger than my vise.
Yep.
So like both ends are exactly the same on this when it's done. So the way I address that is I just put it in the vise and only do one end,
Hmm.
and then I turn it around. Is that a common thing? Or
It is, it is, but, it won't necessarily give you a specific size when you're done. Um,
uh,
unless you indicate it in dial indication. And
well, my vise has got a stop on it. So once I zero the stock box
Mhm.
point to the machine, every time you turn it around, it's going to be in the same place.
Yeah. Um, but do you necessarily know what the distance will be when it's all done? So,
Uh,
man, I'm picking hairs. Here, it probably doesn't matter in many cases, but if you're trying to put two pieces together and you want one to be, um, 12 inches long exactly, then you got to take a little more time in the setup, but that's about it.
well, I addressed that by like this piece is 12 inches exactly,
Mhm.
and the holes that go in the ends are the same on both ends.
Yeah, it's a
So
symmetrical part. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I've done plenty of that. It's cool that, we come up with the same solutions for different things. Um, and that just comes from having a machine that's too small for whatever really you want to do.
yeah,
When I was making the, uh, plates for the CNC router that I did the warp drive, um, I had 10-inch stock, 10-inch wide stock that I was using, and, my machine, the milling machine I had at that time, only had 9 inches of travel in the y axis. I had to get really creative to make the sides the right size um, when it was all done, and uh, they're not perfect, but they were close, you know. So now I would approach it slightly differently, but um, like anything. Hmm. So Randy, what have you been up to today?
Uh, cleaning, still cleaning, doing that January cleanup of all the shop. Do you have any cutting boards you can get out of the shop for after a year? I'm still gluing boards together. So,
You
she
mean
won't, my
you're the
wife won't have
one
to bother me for a few months after I'm done.
you're the one woodworker in the world who actually uses all of the wood in his scrap pile?
Yeah, that's what I'd have a radial saw table that I've got a left and a right side with racks above it, wood racks above it.
Hmm.
And the left and right is just for 12-inch pieces. So I've cleaned that all up, ripped everything down to inch and a quarter, and now putting them all back together again. So it I went out and refreshed my gallon of glue and started all over again.
My first cutting board was made at the same time that I got two new tools. One was a joiner and one was a thickness planer.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, it never occurred to me. What for whatever reason, it never occurred to me that we wanted all of the boards that we were going to start with for this cutting board to be the same height.
Why?
That don't know what I was thinking.
No, I just worry about the thickness. That
Yeah,
keeps them all uniform when I'm laying them out. I don't care about height.
yeah. Well, I got it all set up and laid out and everything, and then I noticed a nice wave going on the top of the surface and realized I had a whole lot more work to do then. Uh, and it would have helped if I had actually knew how to work the joiner at the time. What I was doing was I was taking the piece of wood and I had these two um, paddles, that you use to hold the part down and push it through. And so I'd start the push, and then as the board was going over the front, where the cutters were, I was pushing down.
Yeah.
All right. And so the board would rock like this. It would rock like that going through, but I really couldn't see what I was doing, not realizing that you just start it through and you trying to keep the pressure on the back and you don't dip the front end because that cuts it at a wedge.
Yeah, believe it or not, I just keep it down in the front and then use a push stick,
Mm-hmm.
like a table saw push stick for the back. That way you're keeping it on your flat plate.
Yeah.
But generally I use my thickness, the planer, to go through because the the problem is it's just like that. You can after you put 8 or 10 or 12 of them together, and your joiner can actually, like if you're pushing too far on the back,
Mm-hmm.
it can be off a 64th of an inch times 10, on the you put for some reason you put them all together on that end, and now you look at your board and go,
Mm.
this looks really weird.
Yeah.
So I generally do two sides and then run everything through the planer and then put them together.
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot since then, but this was
Yeah,
it was an anniversary present, and of course it was um towards the end of the time I had to do it. So, learning on the fly.
that must be your anniversary then.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so you do yours last.
yeah, yeah. No,
If it was somebody else's, you'd have done a month ahead of time.
yeah,
That's what I tell my wife. She's like, she takes everything I mess up. She's like, can I have that? Can I have that? Can I have that? She's like, that's the only way I get stuff is take all your junk that you've screwed up.
yeah. And yeah, I put a lot of time into that. It had all kinds of hardwoods in it and everything, and everything it looked really nice, but not uniform. It was a good first attempt. Anyway, Uh, we had that for a couple of years, and then one of my teenage kids was cleaning up around the kitchen, and she put it in the dishwasher.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I told you a story. Went to a show one time. My wife, I usually don't go to these shows because she'll set up at some craft fairs and stuff like that, and I'll do bigger shows. But I just refuse to go to the craft shows.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting there, and some lady, she's like, "I just want a cheap cutting board I can throw in the dishwasher." And I said, "Walmart, just go there. Plastic. Just get one. Don't ever buy one of mine, please."
Yeah,
And my
exactly.
wife's like, and this is again why you're not allowed to come to these. You don't talk to them like that. I'm like, I just answered her question.
Yeah. Oh, it delaminated like you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And then there's the obligatory, we'll just hide it in the back of the cabinet.
yeah, no, a good one. It'll
Yeah.
last for years. I remember a friend of mine a couple years ago brought over mother's or grandmother's cutting board, and it was made out of like white oak or something like that. And she's like, but it's like 50, 60 years old. And it was about an inch and 3/4 thick, and it was cracked, on the ends and stuff. So I just ripped it down, glued it all back together, and redid it all. And because I remember somebody, she goes, I was told you're not supposed to use oak, in cutting boards. I'm like, well, generally I don't. I said, but obviously it's not going to kill you because every cutting board, and 50 years ago, it's whatever wood they had laying around. They didn't care about uh, uh,
Hmm.
tannin oils and things like that. There's like, I just need a wood block I can cut on. So, but now generally I stick to 5 or 6 different hardwoods, and that way I don't have anybody asking me, can I cut? Well, most people will say no, but you can do whatever you want to do. Hasn't killed anybody in the past, but then again, what's good for you and what's better for you is probably two different things.
Hmm. I wondered about walnut. Um, you know, Folks who have a nut allergy, does that qualify? A walnut cutting board, would that be a bad idea?
It's not supposed to transfer to that point, but I mean it's got an oil in it too, and people probably 75% of cutting boards have walnut in them, or these
Hmm.
specially made ones.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, and then everybody, they want to go and especially first thing when they do is get a CNC is go to the dollar store and buy the bamboo ones. And
Yeah.
uh and the reason I can tell you this because when I first got my CNC, I went to the dollar store and bought bamboo ones.
Uh-huh.
And you can't really carve those. They seem to be hollow in the middle.
Yes, they do. Ask me how I know.
That was it was I was like threw it across the shop. I'm like, well, that's why they're only like $5. What the heck? Get rid of this junk.
Hmm.
So that was my first and last attempt at a repurposed bamboo cutting board. But yeah, I still have I think 2 of them in my shop that's laying around somewhere that are bowed or something. But it's just I just look at them once in a while and go, yeah, I should probably take one of those and take it to a show or just put it together. You can buy this one or this one, whichever one you want. So, but no, it's just trying to clean up and get things done this month, redoing tools. Obviously my conveyor belt for the drum sander broke a week before Christmas. That was a reality of hand sanding 101 again.
Hmm.
But and then Jet doesn't have any in stock. They're on back order until April. So I had to. I finally got hold of
Any,
Maverick. Maverick makes their own, and I ordered one from them, but nobody else has it in stock.
Hmm.
So, but
is this something
finally
you can
got
just
that
buy
going
by
again.
size, or does it have to be specific for your
Specific
machine?
size. It has to be because it goes. There's tension rollers you put it on, so it's got to be within a 1/4 inch of size.
Hmm.
Okay.
But I guess Maverick, because I just checked online and that's the company, and I know they make sandpaper, but they make their conveyor belts too. They make different conveyor belts for different machines. and they just use, I think, a 120 or something like that, 120 grit sandpaper, and they're, I mean, comparatively, they're about the same price as a replacement. They're like $65, something like that. But and then
But the difference is you can get it.
yeah, and that's what
Yeah.
well, actually, when I called Jet, they were like, "Yeah, we have them, but we're out of stock," and they sent me over to replacement parts, and they said they have them in stock. So I looked them up, and they were in stock. Called them, ordered it, a couple days after that, and after about 3 weeks, it was about a week or so, 10 days ago, and I called them. I go, "Where's my part at that you said was in stock?" And they're like, "Well, we're changing warehouses, and it's out of
Mm.
stock because our inventory was off." And so I finally found Maverick had them, so I ordered them from them, and they were like, "Yeah, well," because I said, "Well, you're not going to get it in any faster than Jet is." She's like, "Well, we carry thousands of parts," and I'm like, "Well, not really. You don't even carry one. I mean, the one I need. I don't care about the other 10 million that you carry. I just need the one that you don't have." But so I finally got that up and running earlier this week. But that makes the cutting boards a lot easier to send through after you're done.
Mm.
But that's it, just cleaning and fixing equipment. Getting ready for this year. See what else I can tear up.
Very cool.
Um, I
Go ahead.
think just before you got here, Randy,
Yeah.
um, we were talking about the new limitation in Fusion 360 where they don't allow you to do a tool change unless you have one of the paid for versions. When you're running the cam routine. So I was
I've
just
never
wondering, what do you guys use? What
I
do you
I
guys use
use
for paid?
Vectric. I've never used Fusion 360. I think
Oh, okay.
we talked about that before. Everybody has, I think it's whatever you're used to, and every one of them's a little bit better or worse on a different aspect. Fusion 60 is better on one thing, but Vectric is better on something else. I don't know. And then I've always wanted to try. I've never tried. I've got it, but I've never got into it with SketchUp. It seems like a lot better design software.
Um, I don't I don't know because I haven't followed SketchUp in a long time, but whether they actually put in any cam package into it so that you could generate G code
Yeah, I was more looking at it for more of
from the
design,
drawing. Yeah,
furniture, cabinets, things like that. It looks like it's a little bit more accurate, and I think it's more designed for that, isn't it?
yeah. I never really liked the way it worked. So
Yeah, that's why I got
I
into it
had
once and
Vectric.
tried it, and
Yeah,
it seemed very cumbersome, I guess. I don't know.
yeah,
Uh, but there again, I think it's because you're used to something else, and like we talked before,
yep,
every time a different design software comes out, you're like, oh, I don't like this button here, I don't like that here. It's just,
sure,
you're
yeah.
looking,
Why isn't it like this? Yeah,
yeah, it does something you want it to do, but you just got to look for it and find out where it is. And
yeah.
if that's the
Well,
case, why don't I use what I'm using?
I used to back when I was still searching before I had um, Vectric Aspire and everything. I was sampling a lot of different CAD packages to try and figure out, okay, which one am I going to put my money away for to finally buy. And I had this kind of test. If I could open the package, back when there were packages instead of downloads, but if I
Mm.
could, start the CAD program, and if I could create a Lego block without reading the instructions, then it was a program that I would try and use from that point on. Because, pretty much a Lego teaches you many things, how to get the geometry, how to extrude, how to shell things, how to make sure that your parts are aligned and everything. And I would sit there and I'd draw Lego. And there were a lot of good programs that could do that very easily. And there were a few that it was difficult for me, and I never followed through with them. But I don't teach you many things,
Yeah, even I have light burn for the laser, but same thing. You can design some in that, but it's easier for me just to do it and then transfer it over and just use that as a sending program, control program. Yeah, I tried downloading Vectrix one time and it was just a nightmare. You had to transfer and you have to download a trial program. And it was a pain in the neck to try their laser program. And I just gave up, and I think Lightburn is only like 60, $100 or something like that. I just bought that, and and it's got plenty of things in it. That's one of the reasons I know Kyle's supposed to be doing some Lightburn um tutorials, I guess. So I might look into that later I mean, you can still get in and manipulate things and move and center and stuff like that. The basic things in there, but other than that, I don't use it to design anything.
The software developer who coded Lightburn is a member of our group, but remains anonymous. And he does some really good stuff. I don't understand how he can. I'm not going to jinx it. Never mind. It's a great value, is what I was going to say.
Yeah. That's what I mean. For the
Welcome,
amount that
Tally
they
and Bill.
charge, it does everything I
It's
need
been
it
a
to
while.
do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the minute I say something about the cost of it, that something will change. So I'm just going to leave it at great value for what it is.
Yeah, they do. I think they limit it to 2 computers, and I run 3, or technically 4 if you count my one in here if I'm sitting inside. Uh, which is a pain in the neck because you can't kind of if I can't come inside and design something and then try it on Lightburn. You know what I mean? So I have to use my computers out there.
Mhm.
But I guess I could spring for another license, but way too cheap for that.
What's up, guys? It's
Hey,
nice
what's
to
going
see you
on, Bill?
both.
How you been?
I've been good, thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, about you?
And I'm hanging in there. Just been working a lot.
Yeah, I see you building that one building with the half I guess it would be trusses as you're putting up several on one side and then you put up on the other side is the
Yeah,
crane.
yeah. We had to do one that was man, the trusses was 65 feet long. It was 65 feet long, and then one of those were 4-ply. There were 4-ply trusses that was 65 feet that added up to a total of what was it 3,688 pounds, and they wanted to move it 125 feet from where it was, and I was like, that's not gonna happen. Like we're gonna need to move the crane for that. Yeah, but we have been really busy. And then the past weekend I just got off a cruise Monday. So that was like my real first vacation that I couldn't answer any phone calls. so so that was really nice.
Yeah. How are things up in the north of the border there, Bill?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Mic's on or not? Always turn it off just in case. No, things are good. Keeping busy. Cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you, Bill?
I'm in New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh, yeah.
East Coast.
I can imagine that's cold.
I can guarantee it's cold right now.
Yeah, I think he said we had a freeze here over the weekend. I wasn't there, but they said it got pretty cold here in Jacksonville. Um, but we have been having some pretty cold weather. And then it warmed up. Like today it was I think today it was like in the 68 or something like that. It was real nice today. Actually, I went out on the motorcycle and rode for a little bit because it was really nice. And then now it's chilly again.
I always chuckle when Florida folks complain about it chilly and it's 68 degrees out. Uh,
That's good weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good weather. When it get cold, it's like it's that wet cold when it get cold here. When it start dropping down like 28 or so, it's like it's wet. So it's
get a wind chill factor going. Yeah.
it doesn't it doesn't feel good, when it's like that. But yeah.
I keep feeling like saying amateur, but
no, it's
have you
nothing
seen?
negative.
Yeah, have you seen the pictures of the Buffalo Bills stadium being shoveled out by the town folk the day before the game?
No, I didn't. I haven't seen it. I heard it was. Oh man, I heard that was crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
It looked
brutal.
crazy.
Yeah, I'll throw a link to it somewhere. But I wondered how they got rid of the snow because there was 6 feet of snow in the stadium from that week's worth of snow. So I wondered how they physically got it out from the seats and how they got it away, outside of the stadium. And they had more trucks and plows and sweepers and things than you could shake a stick at. And then they had literally hundreds of people just working a section of the stadium, pushing the snow, rolling up these tarps that they had, and then dumping it down the the stairways between each of the sections
Right.
onto the edge of the field where they had scoop trucks that were grabbing it, putting it in the back of dump trucks, and then they were taking it out. I can't imagine where they put all that snow.
Yeah, that's.
Can you imagine showing up to that and just being like, nope.
Yeah. They were paying folks $20 an hour to shovel.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Man, that is a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Anyway, my Bills didn't manage to pull it off, but the Chiefs put up a good battle and we were victorious. So I'm okay saying that. Hey, they both played well. It's just one played better than the other on that day. Yeah.
Oh, come on. The Bills lost.
Yes, I do.
Kansas City didn't win. The Bills lost it. Bad throw
Yeah.
at the end. He picked the wrong receiver.
Yeah. Well,
But that's the way it is.
it could have
Flip the
been
dice.
it could have been that way, or it could have been something else. Could have been many things, but
How far
you
north are you, Bill?
me
Yeah.
in Syracuse.
So you're used to that lake effect snow. You get some of that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
used to I lived in northern Ohio for years, and I'd go up to northern Ohio because I lived in Columbus, and people didn't understand because I'm in Colorado now, and it's like they have the same snow sticks, on the
Mhm.
side of the road up there.
Yep.
People are like, what are those for? I'm like, that's so they can see where the road is when it snows.
Mhm.
Those things are like 8 feet tall. I'm like, yep.
Well,
Wow.
over the Christmas holiday, we went south to Mississippi, and when we got back from there, the snow started down there, and my mother-in-law was not feeling well. She had got sick. My wife went back last week to see her in that big snowstorm, and they're literally just getting back on the road now, a week after folks, down there, because they don't have snow plows and salt trucks and any of that, so they have to wait for it to go.
Yeah, that's when Mississippi and the Carolinas get snow. It isn't the amount of snow. It can only be 2 or 3 inches, and everybody laughs at them. But it's like you don't understand. They don't have one salt truck,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit different animal. We're kind of used to it. It starts snowing in Colorado, you see 30 plow trucks out on the highways.
Yeah. I don't imagine they have many plows in Florida, but I don't know.
No,
I don't live there.
nope.
So, yeah.
I never seen one.
They got gator trucks there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had to move my mother like 5 or 6 years ago. My son lives outside of Naples, and I told him to meet me in Ohio in the middle of winter. He's like, I don't own a coat. He had to go to the store and buy a winter coat. He's like, he goes, I get upset when I got to wear pants. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to find. I think, let me see. Shoot, you catch the devil now trying to find a coat in Walmart. Like
Yeah,
even though
it's spring stuff now.
yeah, I'm like, the heck? Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's hard to find big coats here. Like I had one that I bought in North Carolina years ago. It was a nice leather coat with fur inside. And I want to say I probably had about 15 years, and out of the 15 years, it may have gotten cold twice for me to wear it. That's it.
Have you guys got Tractor Supply centers there?
Yes. Hmm.
Um,
We go there all.
they usually will have Carhartts and work jackets and things like that
Yeah,
available. Some of those will probably keep you warm enough not to freeze, but
right.
you know,
Yeah, I go there all. I go out there all the time. I buy a lot of my I buy some of my rigging gear from there, and I bought some work boots from them. But they have some nice jackets also.
yep.
Yeah.
Who's got their workshop in the garage?
Oh man, what
I do.
like
Yeah,
a actual two-car type garage or
yeah. Or well,
oh
if you got bigger equipment, then that's cool too. But
yeah,
you know,
I did. But I have a
just thought of what I said. Uh,
well,
anyway, uh,
car
uh,
garage.
car garage, yeah.
Yeah.
So bringing it back on point. Um, Up here in Syracuse in the winter, there are very few days when you can work in the shop unless it's heated.
Mhm.
And it took me a long time before I got a heater in the garage. And so, um, I'm wondering about, you, Bill, how are you dealing with it?
I have a heat pump in my garage. So
Yeah.
it's one thing I did when we, excuse me, when we bought the house here is I put a 5,000 or 18,000 BTU heat pump.
Mm-hmm.
So heating the winter and air conditioning in the summer. So
Yeah, that's probably the best solution. I just put in a propane heater, wall heater that draws the air from the outside. It's
yeah,
yeah, instead of pulling in the shop air, and that works pretty good. Especially now that I have an insulated garage door. But
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I'm getting to the point in my life where I'm tired of working in the cold. My last house, I had a fairly good sized shed. It was 16 by 20 with a wood stove in it, and it would heat it, but you'd have to keep it pumping, and it just enough was enough. So I like wood heat, but it's just so dirty, and in the shop that's half full of sawdust most of the time. It's not the best idea.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
I just turn on my vacuum pumps for about 20 minutes. They get
Yeah,
hot.
yeah.
yeah,
In
Yeah,
my
right.
shop at the office with the table running and the vacuum pump and the the dust collection. It's in a small room. It's probably like I don't know, 20 feet wide by 40 feet long or 35 feet long, and it gets hot. But luckily the room used to be a paint booth from the company that was there before. So it's got a huge 220
Exhaust
volt
fan.
exhaust fan. And I just click that on and you have a hard time opening the push door when that fan's on.
Oh yeah, yeah,
There's so much suction in it.
yeah. Them vacuum pumps put out some heat. I didn't even
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it, but they put out some heat. Like in the summertime, oh my god, it's ridiculous. Like I have the AC on, it doesn't
Bye-bye.
make it work. Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to put them outside. I'm about to figure out a way to build a little shed and sit them outside, keep them from in. Because you turn them on, like I say, for 20 minutes, man, that temperature rising there quick.
Hmm.
So let me ask you. I saw a posting on one of the groups. A guy had asked, was it a temperature that you couldn't run your spindle, like a freezing temperature that you couldn't run your spindle? And I don't know if it was ever answered or anything.
I didn't see it, or else I would have.
Yeah,
Is it
there?
liquid cool?
You know what? I don't think he did not indicate whether it was liquid cool or
Yeah.
not. Yeah,
Because that would be the only thing I would think of.
right. That's what I was thinking. Because I don't think an air cooled spindle it would affect it.
I mean, it wouldn't be ideal for it, but you'd want to warm it up before you started doing anything
Right.
major.
Mhm. Yeah, most of the industrial CNCs want you to do a warm up routine to get the bearings and everything up to temperature before you start doing any heavy cutting. They'll void your warranty if you don't.
Right.
But
Does
uh,
the
yeah,
Do you know if the same thing apply, Bill, if it's ceramic bearings?
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it not applying.
Okay.
Yeah, but you got to get it up to operating temperature and let it stabilize. Um, the run out, the amount that the bit is um, is off basically from what
Okay.
you were expecting. It might be doing a elliptical cut instead of a
Oh, okay. Right.
center because warm and whatever. But once you get up to operating temperature, everything just expands and everything locks in and things are what you expect. Yeah. Um, I have a friend who runs a Swiss lathe. Um, Swiss lathes are designed to make thousands and thousands of the same part over and
Yeah.
over again every day.
Right.
And so when they come in, they start and warm up the machine. And then at the beginning of the day, they're feeding these 12-foot bars or whatever of metal into these things, and they just figure the first 50 or 60 parts are going to be scrap because the machine's not warm, and they don't even
That's
bother.
crazy.
Yeah, they don't even bother testing them, and then by
Right.
that time the machine is warm, and now they're producing parts all day long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You think they just run them 24 hours a day?
In some cases they do, but you know that's just the way he's working it, and he bills accordingly, I guess. Yeah, he
Hey,
sells.
folks, I got to get out of here. I got some work. I got some work I got to do, so I'm gonna bail.
All right.
Maybe we'll see you next
Always good to see you.
week. Yeah. Talk
See
to you
later,
later.
Marsh.
All right. You have a good one. So have y'all seen Fusion 360s saying they're gonna increase their price?
Again?
Yeah. And January the 25th.
Okay. So Thursday?
Yeah, let me see.
Tomorrow.
Let me go back. Cause they were saying
What's it cost now?
I think it's 500 what is it? 500
Maybe it was a
And-
blessing that I had that 3-year subscription I just paid for.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look right quick. It flashed up on my phone just before I logged in.
I started using that, wow, a year, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I used it for a year and then I stopped. It was one more software to learn.
So it's the 30th, January 30th. So it says, excuse me, prices are increasing on January 30th. Get Fusion with 30% off, lock-in price renewal until 2027.
2027.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Really?
they're pumping out the 3-year model again. They
Yeah.
did that. They did 3 years ago,
So,
and then they say lock in the price, but they only lock it in for the 3 years. When the 4th year arrives, like mine did, it costs more.
right. So it's for 1 year is 382. For 3 years is 1635. But when I did the math, it's no different between doing it yearly to the 3 years. It's the same cost.
The only difference is if you do it yearly and they decide to bump the price again,
Right.
yeah, in between,
It's like renewing your mortgage.
Right.
Mhm.
Ah,
Yeah, want that fixed rate mortgage, or do you want that variable rate?
balloon. Yeah, the variable
I
rate.
just, all these softwares, I understand the models, but like this monthly or yearly payment thing, sometimes it's a blessing and sometimes it's a curse. Like you start adding up to subscriptions that you got to start paying for all this stuff. And it's not even the softwares, it's everything in general. Everything's going to a monthly or yearly subscription. All of a sudden, bam,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's crazy.
We'll see a lot of the things that I do involve online marketing, right? And like this company here that uh, they do everything, and they're teaching you the techniques that they use when they're pricing things and everything. And the big push over the last 2 years that's trickled to all the software companies is that until you have a subscription service, you don't have a real business, because you have to keep going and spending on ads to get new customers and everything. But when you have them on a subscription and they're paying you monthly, it suddenly is giving you infusions of cash every month versus
Yeah.
once a year or whatever, and they're able to build bigger things.
Yeah. I mean, it makes
Better.
sense. It's,
Yeah.
you you would buy your software and then the next year they would update it and you'd be like, I don't need the update. And
Yeah.
then next year you're like, I still don't need the update. And now, then maybe you get the update. So you'd get revenue from that
Every
customer
couple of
3 to 5
years.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus every month.
I guess it's more predictable for them.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just annoying.
I was never able to embrace Fusion 360. I like it, but I was never able to.
It's the same as any other software. You need to sit down and use it. And I'd love to be able to sit down, and there's some times where I want to draw something mechanical or something that needs a little bit precision. You're drawing a part, where Fusion 360 would really come in handy. We just like type in some values and it's slapping circles in the right spots. But I get so frustrated when I sit down and try to use it.
The way it's designed is everything starts on the left and you go down through the menu, whatever it is, and then you move further to the right and you go down through the menu to get what you want, and you move further to the right. That's the way it's all laid out. So once you get that in your mind, it's pretty confusing, but it's possible to work your way through it. There's a lot of things that you never have to touch unless you're like really got some special case. But for the most part, the speeds and feeds that they're trying to give you based on the size bits that you're using and everything are pretty darn close.
Mhm.
You know, you might break a bit now and then, just, you know, going by the defaults and not checking their work. But for the most part, that's not the issue. The issue is how you're going to draw it. And then now that you've drawn it, can you make it? Because
Yeah.
that's two different things. It's like there's design for design's sake, and then there's design for manufacturing.
Mhm.
Totally different techniques.
Well, I got a 3D printer, I don't know, a year ago, year and a half ago, and I wanted to make some bit holders. So,
Mhm.
you know, for people to hold bits, I was just going to give them away with orders. So I sat down one day and I drew it up in Carveco, but it's not made for that. Like it's not,
Right. Neither is Aspire.
yeah, right. So I was like, you know what? I haven't done 360. I've got on my computer. I've got the free one and whatever it was. And of course it had expired and I had to jump through the hoops and get it all going again. And I did. And I sat down and I stared at that screen for an hour. I made a box. You know, I put some radiuses on there where I wanted it. And then I made one thing and then 3 hours went by and I was no further ahead. And I was like, nope, I haven't touched it since.
I'll make this offer to anybody who's live on this Zoom call. If you want sometimes a walkthrough of Fusion 360 on some project you want, this is limited to three guys here.
Three people.
I'll sit down with you on a Zoom call and walk you through it. Maybe, you know, maybe that'll
That
get you
would,
going.
that would be good. I mean, that would be great. Like I say, I don't, I started with it when it first came out. A matter of fact, I have a few books from.
I'm just hoping don't have 21,000 people saying, "Hey, Bill, well,
Quick, get on there, quick."
But I work out. I work out of. I work out of Vectric and
Mhm.
Rhino. So I I like Rhino.
Mhm.
The only
like
thing I
it
don't
too.
like about Rhino is it's not parametric unless you do Grasshopper, which I wish they would
Mhm.
change it. But I love Rhino. Rhino to me it's simplistic, but I think if anybody look at it, it's like, oh wow, the icons and stuff like that can definitely confuse you. But you can do a lot in it.
Yeah, I used to love Rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like working in it. And it you can any format file, you have no issue whatsoever. It doesn't matter where the file came from, it will open it.
Now I remember.
What's
Okay,
that?
I was trying to remember why I stopped using Rhino.
Okay.
So when I bought it Rhino originally, it was the first thing that McNeil and company were making. But then at some point they decided they were going to change the programming language that they wrote it in. And so
Okay.
they came out with a whole new version of Rhino, and you had to buy it again.
Oh.
And
Oh.
so, you know, they gave you some discount for the upgrade or whatever, but it
Right.
was like, no, I didn't have the money back then.
Right.
And so I didn't use that. And a Libre design came out about the same time. And I went with that because originally it was free, and then I ended up buying it later. But I was trying to remember why I wasn't using Rhino as much anymore because I was designing all kinds of things in it at one point.
Yeah. So they
Um,
just came out with
yeah.
Rhino 8, and
Hmm.
I've been using that and I like it.
I'm
Um,
I'm curious now. I don't know what version of Rhino I had.
what you like 3?
Maybe one. Who knows? Version 1.1.
Oh, oh my goodness. Oh, what was that like in the 90s? Or the 90? When it
I
came out,
don't know. I could look at the manual and tell you, but
then it came out in like 95?
it ran at least on Windows 95. Uh, I'm not really sure. Man,
You,
this
you
is
should load
pristine
it
though.
up. You should load it up
The,
and see
the
Windows
books are in
7.
great shape. Uh,
I sure do.
yeah, and it was on floppy disks
Oh yeah.
originally. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I
he
got to
can't
the
load it now,
DVDs.
Tally, because he doesn't have a floppy disk.
Yeah. Actually, I still do, but that's another story. Um,
That is great.
now
That's
I'm
a-
curious.
That's one reason I can't understand, like you were saying, that Fusion 60 is going up in price. It seems like every year, and a lot more recently, you have different programs coming into the market, and their core has already been paid for.
Yeah.
Now they're just doing upgrades, and they keep raising the price, and they're just going to start pushing people to try other things as, you know, the new core items are going to have their upgrades as a standard feature on theirs. And, and I think that goes along with most computing stuff is, it outprices its, you'll start looking at something else.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think they'll lose people in the next 3 to 5 years, because the next 3 to 5 years, there's probably going to be 3 to 5 new standard programs coming out in that genre.
So the copyright said 1993 to 1999. So
Wow.
time to clean the shelf.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That is
yeah,
That's
there are DVDs in there, so I apparently upgraded at some point,
mhm.
but yeah. Yeah. Mm.
I think when you say, Fusion 360 have a good foundation, and when they first came out, I remember when they first came out, I had signed up for it, and it had every feature in there. I can even remember when you couldn't even bring in an STL file, like it couldn't even handle STL files at the time or anything like that. And then they started coming around, and it advanced, and even when it was on the cloud, it was like slow, like it was extremely slow, and people were thinking, oh, maybe I need to upgrade my computer, but really it was the server. And then they start stripping back some of the features. Um, and when they first did that, I think it was how much? What it was like $10,000 for commercial at the time that they had to pay, or $5,000 for commercial, and
For
everybody.
Fusion 360?
Yeah, when it first came out, I think it was 5,000 for commercial, and everybody else was free for hobbyists, hobbyist educational, because that was the only two that they had at the time. It was hobbyist and educational.
Hmm.
Because at the time I was on educational. And then when Titan got on board with it and started teaching the classes, that's when the license started changing. That's when they still had the commercial tier, and then you had the hobby tier that you paid a little bit. I want to say it was like $49 or something like that. And then educational was still free for 5 years, because I had it for 5 years. And I think I end up with it for like 7 years, which was crazy because I downloaded it through the just Christmas, because I was thinking about going back to it, and it still had all my files and everything that was loaded to the clouds. And then what else? And they start stripping back, like the fourth axis that wasn't perfected yet. None of that was actually perfected. And then after they start getting, I think they start borrowing stuff from like Power Mill and Feature Cam, and they start
they were
Yep.
buying those companies.
Right, because
Yeah.
they bought Delcam. They bought Delcam and launched ArtCam, which was 2017. I thought they bought them in 15, and then they had 2015 ArtCam and 2018 ArtCam, and that was the last of ArtCam. And I think they kind of, I don't know if they took
They
anything
pulled it off the market, and then
Right.
somebody else bought the rights to the software, and
which
they put it
was
out as Maker,
Carco. Yep,
Carco Maker.
Right.
Yeah.
And when Carco came out, I thought, I was like, what is going on here? You know, when they first came out, I thought it was like a joke. I was like, okay, so now Autodesk just sold ArtCam to them. So what are they going to do to it that's going to make it different? Because ArtCam was fantastic software. I mean, it had everything. I mean, it still has features in it now that Vectric don't even have. But when they start stripping Fusion, that's when it kind of, you know, people started like, maybe we need to be looking at something else, because now you had all these extensions that, you know, that start coming up. You have to pay for fourth axis. You had to pay for what was it? I think you only can load like one document, something like that, you know. So it's
there was a whole bunch of things. The automatic tool changer, the rapids.
right.
They put a lot of stuff in the machine into a machining package with the expectation that people who you know had their home based CNCs or whatever would actually go out and buy that stuff. And we were like, no, we don't
Right.
really, you know, we'll just go do something else somewhere else. And then I think they course corrected a little bit. They realized that whoop, we were a little hasty.
Mistake. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a very powerful software for free.
Yes, it was.
Right.
I remember when they first started making changes and everybody was like, oh, whoa, whoa. And then somebody was like, well, it's free.
It's free. Yeah. They
Right.
can do whatever they want.
You're not paying for it.
So
You know, go ahead.
I was at a tool show, Hardage, the company that makes the lathe. Anyway,
okay.
they had their like 50th or 75th or some, you know, some big anniversary that, and they had a open house. And the guys from all the major software companies were there at this event, and there was a guy there from Autodesk. And I talked to him, and this was like somewhere like 2015, 2016, around in there. And I said, I don't get it. What's the deal with Fusion 360? How are you guys going to make money? You're giving it away for free. And he says, well, Fusion 360 is our way to get folks to buy. And then he named their big software package. I don't remember what it was called, but it was something like, wasn't Mastercam. So Power Mill. Yeah, he says,
Yeah.
we get folks used to this environment, and then when they have a need and they built up their companies to the point where they need more, then they get Power Mill subscriptions, you know. And that was kind of like a training program for folks to need more. And then it made sense to me, you know, but I couldn't figure out for the life of me why they were giving it away. I mean, I had an educational package because I was working at a college for a long time, but when 6 years ago, 3-4 years ago, whatever, when they first said, hey, the price is going up, we're changing this, you know, we're changing who can have it for free and everything. But you educators, you can keep it as long as, you know, as you want. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go pay for it, because I bought the Tormach and I was doing things and I was trying to make an actual living with it. And so I bought the 3-year license for it. And I really could have just kept the education. The educational if I was unscrupulous, but they took things away from the paid version that they still gave you in the educational, and that just I didn't understand that move. Anyway, there you go.
It is a good software, and it does. I can actually say it does prepare you. Whether you're running a hobby machine, whether you're running an industrial machine, it still give you that feel and that knowledge that you need to know to be in this type of field, whichever direction you decide to go in. And I respect that because, like I said, I learned from it. It opened my eyes up. You know, learning how to design and actually like reading, you know, the blueprints and things like that.
Yeah.
I'll
be right back. You guys keep talking.
What I find hard though is their post processors. I find their post processors were very hard to manipulate. So, you know, like, you know, trying to do like really custom things.
It was almost like it was just as hard to use the post processor as it was to actually learn the software.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was crazy. So like I said, I like Rhino, Rhino, and I use Rhino and Rhino Cam and I use Desk Proto also, which I like. And a lot of my other stuff I just use Vectric because it's just simplistic. Vectric is it's simplistic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can dive right in, do what you need to do. You don't necessarily need no 3D modeling if you know what your design supposed to look like, and it works. And that's the good thing about it. Does it has the two strategies, for proficiency? Not necessarily, but
Well,
it
there's not
gets
many people that need the adaptive,
right,
tool
right,
clearing and all that stuff. I mean, it is cool,
right,
but at the end of the day, if you're running a hobby-based machine anyway, you're not. You're like,
right. Um, what I wish, this is what I wish that it actually had. So for instance, when I run in RhinoCam, if you do a toolpath, um, in Rhino, you must do a simulation because
yeah,
it remembers what it has taken away. So your next toolpath will know what or where it needs to go to remove the remnants.
Rest
I wish,
machining, yeah.
yeah, I wish Vectric would do. Vectric is not good at that. Like you have to trick it. It's not really good at that.
you
And
have. So if you don't run the tool path, if you don't do a simulation, it won't. Like, shouldn't all that be in the code anyway?
it, I guess what it does, it remembers the last of what it did. And
Hmm.
if you the only thing I can say is just like download like a sample because you can do a free. Well, on the free you only can do one tool. But if you just download a demo,
This is Rhino Cam.
yeah, you'll see how it works. Like it's very, very proficient the way it works. And they
I
always
run simulations. It's just a habit. I always do. I never, doesn't matter what I'm doing.
Which then?
Because I run a
Right.
simulation. It's the first I run it and it looks good. Then I save my file
right,
because I don't know how many times you forget something. You forget the decimal point. You pick the wrong tool. You didn't put the depth in properly. Like it saves so much headaches. Like you can't get over the amount of people that like, oh, this looks like crap. It's like, did you run a simulation?
right.
No. Or did you see the simulation? You ran the simulation, but did you look at it?
Yep, yep, right. So what it does, it actually it remembers. It remembers what it did. If you do that with Vectric, it doesn't do that. It doesn't know. It has no idea. Even if you ran a simulation, it doesn't know.
No.
It has no
Simulations,
idea.
just a visual simulation just for
right.
your reference.
Yeah, it has no idea. So it's stuff like that I wish to kind of they integrate to it and actually doing models instead of interpreting the grayscales. Actually interpreting the models because with that you can do detailing, you can do your contouring, you can do your waterline machine and that sort of stuff. You can't do that. It's actually guesswork in Vectric because it doesn't what they call it polynomials. I think that's what they call it, polynomials. I think in RhinoCam they do polynomials and Desk Proto allow you to do models. So you can actually do detail work. Even ArtCam allow you to create boundaries in layers. So if
Yeah.
let's say you have an STL file and you have from 0 to 3/8 of an inch. If you want to do a boundary, you can tell it whether you want to go from 0 to 3/8, and it'll create boundary lines in between them layers. Then you can do waterline machining. So all you're doing is selecting the contour and tell it to follow that contour. It will allow you to do that. In Vectric, you can't do that. It's a grayscale. So you would actually have to convert it into vectors and tell it manually, but you don't have no depth perception. You don't know
Right.
how deep it's going to go because you can't tell it how far to go down. So
Yeah, and that's because it's pixel-based program.
it's a pixel-based program, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they may change that. I'm believing they getting to the point where they're gonna change that because it's very significant when you start doing machining. It cuts time like that because some things that you machine, you don't have to go back over it to machine. It knows where it needs to be.
Here's the thing, I have nothing to back this up, just wild
Okay.
speculation on my part.
Right.
And I am a Vectric reseller, but I think that there are probably certain patents and things for certain techniques that have been released in libraries from CAD packages from all over
Okay.
the place that you would have to pay licensing to use. And if you developed your own, you then have to defend that against these things. And so I'm sure that there's a whole bunch of things that they could use,
Mm-hmm.
but it would drive the price of the software up, way up.
So you saying
Uh,
like infringement, like with Fusion or Autodesk, they have T-splines,
Yeah.
and Rhino couldn't use T-splines. They had to use
NURBS.
NURBS. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Vectrix and ArcCam or
Uh-huh.
ArcCode, whatever you want to call it, the softwares are very similar.
Yeah.
Just because it's basically come from the same
Group of developers.
people,
Yes.
the same developers, the same guys that were in with ArcCam who kind of split off.
Mhm.
So they've got to be very careful, like not to cross streams,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so a lot of the tool like is just worded differently, or you approach the same thing from a slightly different angle.
Mhm.
So I'm a Carveco guy, so when I go to Vectrix, like sometimes I'm like, I know what it's called, but it's just staring me blank in the face, and I just
Right.
can't. They're doing it from the bottom up, or
Mhm.
way around.
Yeah. Because I mean, there was quite a talent pool coming from England, 20 years ago that developed this stuff for Delcam and other places like that. I think Vectric was split off from was Delcam, I think.
Delcam.
Yeah.
I think it
But
was Delcam.
Was it that early?
yeah, it's
Okay.
well, Vectric
So that's before
started
Autodesk.
Vectric started in like 2000, maybe 8 or
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a long time ago.
a
Yeah.
lot, or
Yeah.
maybe earlier. I'm not really sure.
Hmm.
My earliest recollections of it was a program they came out with called VCarve Wizard,
Right.
Yeah.
and that was free. And then they came out with a paid version, which was VCarve.
Mm-hmm.
And then later they came out with VCarve Pro, and then Aspire, Cut 3D, Cut 2D,
Desktop.
yeah, desktop,
So
Photo
they
VCarve.
stopped at 4.5. It never went to 5.0. They stopped at 4.5, and then boom, all of a sudden it went to, I think,
9.
8 or 9, yeah.
Oh yeah, it went to 8. It went
Mhm.
to 8, and it went to 8, and then from there, because everything moved, so which was crazy. So they stopped at like 4.5, and then boom, all of a sudden they came out with 8, and then they went from there. And then and that was, and I believe at the time, Autodesk acquired they acquired Delcam and
Yep.
did whatever to ArtCam, because I think they had ArtCam.
If
or
I'm not
3
mistaken,
years? I think it was 3
I think
years.
it went more like this, Tally. I
Oh, good.
think that Delcam and a couple of others were bought by MakerBot,
Oh, really?
and then um, they got rolled up by Autodesk later
Okay.
and other things um, because MakerBot was driving the whole STL thing, because they had the dominant space in the 3D printing.
Hmm.
But now
Hmm.
you hardly ever hear about MakerBot anymore because the company got sold, and then they began to focus on more commercial and 3D
Okay.
printers instead of the beginner level. The guy Bree Pettis, who founded who was the founder, the CEO, um, had his exit event. He sold,
Right.
and now he's working with Bantam Tools.
Oh, I heard
They
of
make that little
that.
desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Okay.
he's still in the he's still in the game, but this is his second time around. Sorry, too much too much off track. But what I'm trying to say is I think there might have been a couple of steps in between when Autodesk bought Delcam
Okay.
and everything. So
Cause they bought the whole everything. They bought what it was, the art. They bought Art Cam, Feature Cam, Power Mill.
SurfCam, I think was that no, wasn't SurfCam. There was a Delcam used to have like 5 or 6 different cam packages, and they were all like
Was it
expensive or
Sprue?
whatever.
Was it Sprue Cam?
I don't know. That's still going, from what
Yeah,
I
Sprue
understand.
Cam still going.
Um,
Uh,
Well, I think like what Bill said, a lot of those companies bought other companies
uh-huh.
just to get their technology.
yeah,
Yeah.
It was cheaper for them to buy the company and then steal their stuff and, just merge it in with theirs instead of redesigning theirs.
Right.
yep, yep. And the good programmers, you paid handsomely to stay with you long enough to
Yeah,
learn.
because who was that? God damn it. Is it Clay? What's the guy, the representative from Carco now? What's his name?
Leighton,
Clayton. Clayton was
Le-
with he was
Leighton,
with
yeah,
he was with Delcam. He
yeah,
been with
he
them
was he was the guy on the tutorials back then too.
mm-hmm. He been with them for the longest.
I guess I had just started going into my quieter period of CNC right around the time that all came out, because
Okay.
n- you know prior to that, everybody was contacting me about pretty much everything. And then I focused more on my business than, you know, just teaching and doing free tutorials and podcasts and all that stuff. And so I missed the whole Carco um, thing. I knew it was out there.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't pursuing it because I had things that I was doing. So,
Can only do so much.
yep, yep.
It has
Um,
definitely came along. I know it has definitely have sprouted as far as when they first launched it, because I was wondering, I was like, okay, so what are they going to do with this company that hasn't already been integrated into you know
yeah,
ArtCam, because at that time ArtCam was the top tier of the
yeah,
software, and it has like a lot of features. I think, let me see when the last one. I think the last one was 2018
Yeah,
Service Pack. I want to say Service Pack 4. That was the last one they did,
yeah.
and it
I'm
was
trying.
a phenomenal program.
I'm trying to remember who just bought Mastercam, for that matter.
oh, I did.
Oh,
Congrats. But
We're
yeah,
going to rename it. Yeah.
somebody just bought
Speaking of-
Mastercam a year ago.
oh, really?
Yeah. Um, so as part of the working at the college, um,
Okay.
in a mechanical engineering technology program, we would go to various things that were put on by Haas or Mastercam or whatever. So we took trips out to Mastercam in Connecticut,
Right.
and they introduced the new stuff that they had in the educational programs, and whatever they do, and we got to be familiar with a lot of the people who were doing things. And the original founder of the company was older than me, but he retirement age really, and
Okay.
he'd done all he really wanted to do, and so he retired and handed the reins over to his daughter, and she acted as CEO for a few years, and then they just recently had a buyout, and I wish I could remember who bought them,
Oh,
but
I'm looking. I'm
Sandvik.
Sandvik, yeah.
Ah,
Okay, because
makes sense.
Sandvik and them had been working together for years. I mean, I saw the folks from Sandvik at these educators conferences for like 3-4 years in a row. So, I knew that there was a tight relationship, but I don't know why I didn't retain the information that Sandvik is the one that bought them out. But I have no doubt that they're going to continue to do amazing things with that program. But I got to tell you, they had one of the coolest headquarters ever. So the entire place was solar powered, and they had geothermal heat as well. And they, the guy who designed Mastercam and everything, he had that work done at his spec, at his specification. He kind of was like the engineer behind the whole thing,
Right.
So their entire building and structures and everything was green. I mean, it just, the zero, it was off the grid basically. And they had a full machine shop on the premises with every kind of industrial machine you could think of well, not everyone, but you know what I mean. There would be something there from Haas. There would be something there from Kern. There would be something from Mitutoyo in the inspection department. All these big, high, multi-$100,000 machines, with all the
Right.
attachments and everything were there, and they had engineers working with them to make their software better, trying to, I'm going to say this, trying to break things, say, how
Okay.
can we get it to fail? How can we get it to,
Right.
so that the guys out in the field wouldn't have that issue because they'd already discovered it. It was just an amazing place. If you like machining, I'll tell you. I don't know if they would still show you around the place now, but man, what a place.
That would be nice. I would love to see something like that.
Hmm.
Have you worked with Mastercam before?
I have
Did you like it?
some aspects.
Yeah. Most of the guys I've known that they always say it was like difficult. Like they say the cam part is nice, but they said like designing out of it was always like cumbersome.
I usually did design and something else and brought it in. You could do the design work there. There was nothing stopping you from doing it.
Right.
It's just a different design philosophy that they had. And they also, when you were selecting the vectors that you wanted to machine to, or the features that you wanted to machine to, they had a thing called chaining, where you had to select the curve, then you selected the straight portion, and all the way around. There was a bunch of clicking going on. There was a way around that, but it was just a lot of clicking for me. It was because it originally was designed in an era where you had to go step by step through everything back in the day. And they had a lot of machine shops all over the country that were still using older versions and everything. And when they came out with a new one, you wanted to keep things the same so that the
Right.
machinists didn't have to relearn everything every day. So that was all. Extremely powerful. I mean, you could make a rocket ship with it.
Yeah.
It's just you had to know how to do it. What I did like was how much I got paid if I ever did anything for somebody in it.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, that made it worthwhile in learning. But they had fantastic training programs available.
Okay.
And they did something that was very valuable. They partnered with a lot of people who were already into writing educational manuals
Oh, right.
and had them do it in conjunction with them so that they were not only effective, but they were easy to read. I think I got a couple of them over there on the shelf somewhere, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I saw Titan of CNC. They had started doing classes, educational classes on Mastercam. So
Yeah.
they do, Fusion 360 and Mastercam now.
what
So,
what I liked about Mastercam was they had a program back in the day. I don't know what they would call it now, but it was called Mill Turn.
oh, okay.
And it was designed for, that kind of machine that could both mill and turn at the same time,
Yes.
with the auto tool changer parts. And that was just sick. I mean, it was like, wow, you know, but unfortunately I could never afford it, one of those machines. So
Right. Yeah, RhinoCam has something like that. I think they launched it in
and there was Mastercam Art, I believe it was called,
2020. They did that.
which
They have
was
they have mill turn, they have mill
yeah,
turn, and then they have mill turn
yeah.
also.
There
Yeah.
was, I think it was called Art or something like that. It was for CNC Router. They had a special Mastercam for CNC Router.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just looked up. It just got all the logos for all like the different CNC running machines and put it in chat. It's like, man, there's like 100 of them little son of bitches.
Oh, really? Wait,
Yep.
let's see.
Take your pick. Drop it, throw a dart, hit one, take it. Difference is somewhere between free and $50,000.
Yeah. Some of the one of the things that is hard is when you bought a license, they would make a post processor specifically for you if they didn't already have one, and
Okay.
that could cost a little bit of money.
Uh.
But but when these guys were setting up factories with machines in them, not all machines were ordered with the same parts.
Okay.
So, one guy might buy it with a tool changer, another guy might have a chip conveyor, another guy might have a live tooling or whatever. And so that's why they would have to custom make the post processor for you, because, the machine tool company would make pretty much whatever you wanted if you were going to pay them enough. So,
Right.
and it would be a one-off just for you
Yeah,
guys.
but just imagine having a factory for you're upgrading it over 20 years.
Mhm.
You have a 20-year-old machine sitting there and one you just bought this week, and you're trying to run the same type, trying to work them together, and that's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Kern, I think Kern is from Switzerland. It's the one that John Grimswell has. One guy might buy it with a tool changer. Another guy might have a chip conveyor. Another guy might have somebody's speakers on. A chip conveyor. another guy might have somebody's speakers on.
Oh, that might be.
But sitting there, another
That
guy
might be
might
me.
have somebody's speakers on.
Oh, that might be. Yeah.
That was
I'm
interesting.
like, yeah.
Time warp, yeah. The Kern, they still do service and maintain every machine they've ever made, and they've been in business for like
Really?
forever, basically.
Wow.
I'm like, not forever, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, how do you do that? I mean, how do you keep the parts, you know, the blueprints and the diagrams to even make the parts that you haven't made in 20 years? You know,
I
wow.
didn't even know there was a Kern mill. I only thought it was Kern laser.
Different
When I
company, I believe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I found that out, like these sounds like what? Yeah, and I had to actually look them up. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a machine tool company called Haas, Haas,
Okay.
in Germany that is not related to Haas tools in here in the US.
What? Oh, I thought Haas was German. I thought that was a German name.
No, Haas is made in California. Um, the one we're all familiar with is made in California.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
And they spelled the same way?
Mhm.
Wow. How do they distinguish that?
I do not know. I found out because I saw the Haas name on a machine and I said, "Oh, I wanted to talk to somebody from Haas about blah blah blah." He says, "Well, you have to go somewhere else because we are not that Haas." You know?
Wow.
Yeah. Uh,
That is okay.
yeah.
That's cool.
Hey, Bill, how'd your new project come out you were working on? Your panels or whatever?
Me?
Yeah.
There's too many bills.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that Bill.
Is that
I was like, panels? I don't remember doing panels.
you're talking about the restaurant ones?
Yeah.
I haven't heard back.
Oh, okay. Did you
It's
figure out a
just,
solution to it?
no, I'm not touching it until they tell me to.
I was thinking
No
about
point.
that. Why don't you just do it intentionally with like frame panels?
They
Frame it out instead of continual.
because they have a process that they do. So there's specs for the building from the architect. So this is supposed to be an option instead of using the boards that they're using. They use this, so it has to look a certain way. If they wanted to change anything, it's a big deal. You know, you're changing the outside look of a KFC, so they all look the same.
Gotcha.
I don't
I don't know of
until
any
I hear
three
back
that look
from
the
them.
same.
Yeah. Until I hear back from them, I just go on to the next thing. So somebody pays me to think about it. Yeah, I don't know if I showed you guys. I don't know if I can add it here without changing. I'm on my phone, of course, but I've been working on your sign. I'm muting myself. I don't know how to do this. Yeah. Anyway, it's been kicking in my shop for about 6 months, and I'm finally been talking to the customer about staining choices, and I just started staining it. It's 4 feet by 3 feet, 4-inch thick carving, cedar, and just slowly. He's giving me very vague details of how he wants it to look, and I tried to find some local artists that want to tackle it. Nobody wants to touch it. You only get one shot at it. As soon as you start putting stain on cedar, it's just so I've started playing with it just a little bit at a time, a little bit darker, and send them a photo, a little bit darker, send them a picture. It's working pretty good, but nerve-wracking.
I can imagine.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of dealing with clients much.
Yeah. Well,
And I find out giving them less choices to make.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
This guy's
I
been
know.
pretty good.
You give them too many choices, man. Whew, man, you talking about they brain just like have to reboot. Just kind of
No,
steer them into where you want them to be to make it easier on you.
way easier on everybody, right?
Yeah,
I find a lot of people, as soon as you give them too many choices, it makes it overly complicated. So
yes,
I normally don't, but this is something that's a little bit unusual from my day-to-day
right.
CNC
Hmm.
work, I guess. Because originally, when I agreed to do this, the plan was to find a local artist that was going to paint the sign. I'm like, yep, no problem.
Okay.
I'll carve it all day. We'll hand it off to somebody. They can finish it, and we're done. And then I couldn't find anybody to do it.
What about Roger McMahon?
Hmm?
Roger McMahon, I believe is his name. He's in Canada. He does.
Oh yeah, but we're not going to fly somebody in.
Um, well, you're in New Brunswick.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he's near Toronto somewhere.
And
Yeah.
it ended up that he didn't actually want it painted because painting a carved cedar sign, you might as well made it out of. I could have made it out of foam board, right, or
Mhm.
HDU. Like why make it out of cedar if you're not gonna kind of keep the grain and wood look?
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad we went the way we did, but
I hate painted
You
wood.
you could always take a torch to the outside and just dress it that way.
I tried a sample piece because I was thinking he wanted highlights. There's trees in the background. If I can figure out how to put a picture up here, I will. There's trees in the background,
Yeah, you
and
just hit
he kind of
share screen button.
well, I'm on
Oh,
my
you're on your
phone.
phone. Yeah, right.
Chat. Okay, I found the chat. Um, but he wanted the tips of the trees a little bit darker. There we go. There. So I just added 2 photos.
Yeah.
That work? Maybe it takes a while.
Let you know in a second.
So I originally thought maybe I'll just take a torch because I've done that to other signs, but it's more to accentuate the grain. So I did have a smaller sign that I did as a test. So I quickly did that. And taking a torch of cedar is not a good idea.
Uh,
It's a dry cedar. It was kiln dried. Yeah, it was ruined that little sign pretty quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I bet you got some dark spots.
I haven't seen any pictures yet.
okay.
Oops. I don't know if I did it right or not. There we go.
There we go. Now they're coming through. Let me share the screen.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, it doesn't look like there's much on there, but there's
Re-
quite a
I
bit.
think
What
who
did you
was
say?
it
You
who
want
did the
to paint?
glazing?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I looked at some of that.
Yeah.
Uh, and, maybe I think if I had a little more experience and if I wasn't so.
Have you tried airbrushing?
I have an airbrush, but no. Again, he doesn't want color. So it kind of makes it.
No, because I airbrush. A lot of times I airbrush my stain.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
yeah. You know what? I actually never thought of airbrushing stain.
and the reason why I say that because when you airbrush stain, it dries very quick, and you can add shadowing. You can add
Yeah.
highlight and low light. and it gives that illusion, even though it's the same color of stain, it gives an illusion that is different colors.
Because you could layer it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've been doing is I did put a sanding sealer on it first.
Yeah, so it
and
won't
then
bleed. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. So I've basically been rubbing stain on, brushing it on, rubbing it off,
Hmm.
letting it kind of sit in the low spots, and then rubbing the top surfaces.
Yeah, I'm trying
The
to think.
airbrush is not a bad idea. It's
I would do an airbrush. You can control how
yeah.
far back by the atomization. Um, it'll give it that effect. I was trying to think. I did something like that alone. It was probably
I'm
about three
almost to
years
the
ago.
point where we're good. I just got to work on the lettering. I think I got to sand the faces of the lettering, almost down to bare wood, and put a coat of darker stain on them because I've sanded it, but I've done a bad job of it's blotchy.
Okay.
But
Trying to look something up
hopefully
here
to
while
get that done. Was
Yeah.
we're trying to look up something from a while ago that Randy Newcomb did.
And then after this, I got to put two or three coats of epiphane on it to seal it. So that's going to change the color again.
Let me
You
let
may
me
have
see.
seen this picture before. But Randall Newcomb did a thing on
Oh,
glazing,
Yeah.
and where he was wiping off and brushing on stain to achieve this kind of effect.
let me
It's in the Vectric forum. If you
Yeah, I think
go,
we talked about it, and I think I
yeah,
found that link.
yeah,
I think the issue that I was having with this, and it worked to a certain effect, to a certain amount, but the roughness of the cedar
yeah,
kind of gave me a little bit of a headache
yeah,
because it was
probably catching the
clean.
bristles. Yeah,
Yeah, and then I had it fairly smooth, and then once you apply the sanding sealer, it roughs it back up again. So it was the roughness was catching more stain than I was happy with, and even though I did seal it, the end grain still soaks in a lot of
Yeah, I think
liquid.
cedar is going to be very porous. That's going to be hard to control.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right about that. Let's see. I'm trying to
I think at the end of the day, once it's on, it's going to be it's a sign for an entrance to a camp. So it's
okay.
20 feet off the road. We'll talk them into making a shelter for it. It's going to have a log home type cover roof and some lights. So it's going to be quite the project.
I was trying to find
the end grain.
one of
Yeah,
the pictures that I did.
And they see the side of that right there. You can see because that's 4 inches thick. The longest bit I had on hand was only 2-inch cut. So I ended up having to cut it, and then I drilled some pilot holes through for a jigsaw. But I was a little aggressive with my drill bit. I had quite a bit of tear out on the ends.
mm-hmm.
So I ended up buying one of those ball carving tools from Arbortech.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
And then textured the side of the sign and get rid of all that. But hindsight.
How do you like that Arbortech tool?
It was pretty good.
I bought one of their old tools, I think it was. I can't remember the name of it.
It's just the ball.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. You use it on a grinder.
Yep.
Yeah. I always wondered what that particular it was Roto something was the name of the tool that I got at a wood show in Atlanta. Anyway, I always wondered if I made up a collet for it, how it would have, worked on the router.
It only cuts on like one certain area.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the very bottom of that ball, when it rotates, because it only rotates, in circular motion, that cutting surface doesn't touch the bottom of the ball.
Yeah.
Because
What was the
it's
name of the
that
company again?
angle.
What was it?
Arbortech.
Arbortech, yeah.
It's meant for cutting like on the side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to see. I went to their page to see if I could locate the one that I bought. Their tool. Power carving. There we go.
I was trying to.
Hmm. The one I bought was called the Mini Turbo Kit.
Does it have the extension on it too?
Yeah, I'll share the screen. It'll be easier to show.
Or yeah.
So this is the one that I bought.
Oh,
See if it's got a better picture of it. It's got
Okay.
little inserts on the end and
Oh yeah.
everything. So it can cut straight up and down. That was
Okay, yeah, the one.
the one you bought was the ball shaped one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always thought, why not put that in on a router
Yeah.
and let it go to town, but I never followed through on building the adapter for it. So anyway,
That's the one thing I love about using the CNC for stuff like that is as long as you can wrap your head around the way you need to approach that tool,
mhm.
the machine doesn't know. It doesn't care what it is, right?
Nope. Is this the one that you bought?
I think so. Mine just came with there was a kit that I wish I would have got. It had the sander and the ball. I just got the ball. It was just too quick to order.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the ball, but mine's not up and down like that.
Hmm.
Mine's at like I wouldn't say 45, but it's definitely at an angle.
Okay, so it's not
It's that shape, but not like that.
hmm. Apparently they make several solutions. We
Yeah, I
haven't
think
found the right
you
one.
probably have a drill one and an angle grinder.
Let's see. Oh, there's page 2. That's why. That's the one.
There, that's the one. Yeah. All gout. Yeah.
No.
It's funny because I went through 4 or 5 iterations of trying to get that scallop look I was going for before I decided to get that.
But
I tried a cheap Amazon disc that it worked, but it just had little fingers and just scored the wood up, and sanding discs.
Yeah. This would be really good in a a machine, not a 4th axis, but a 5-axis machine.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. If you had a robot arm.
Yeah. But anyway,
You know what? They're quite dangerous. Like you don't think about that, but I don't know how many times I had to like cautiously I had to make sure I didn't grab that. Right? Because you're grinding and you're kind of shaping stuff and you're wiping off the dust and you just kind of part of your head wants to just like, oh, I'll just wipe the dust off the end of the tool while it's spinning at 20,000 RPM.
followed shortly thereafter by wiping all the blood off the wall.
It's like picking up the wrong side of a heat gun.
Yeah. You
Bill,
only do it once.
I just put 2 photos up of a project I did probably like 3 years ago, and it was airbrush stained. So it's actually just pine wood, and I airbrushed the details in it with stain. And that's the results of it. when there was no clear coat or anything. I don't think I had a picture of
Okay.
it with the clear
Yeah.
coat.
I got to train you guys better. You can just hit the share screen button and show it yourself without loading it in the chat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I had to find it, man. You know, you have
Yeah.
to search through your computer and try to find everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Mm.
So yeah, I didn't think about that. You know, sharing the screen.
And there's one more here. It just takes a minute for it to load. That's all.
Oh,
Um, Come on, open up. No, maybe not.
all right. I was wondering,
Well,
okay,
if you want to hit share screen and show us that second picture, that would be cool too.
okay.
It's not playing well with others tonight.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
You
Where
probably
was
hear me clicking the mouse repeatedly.
all right. I'm trying to see which one. I think it's this one. What should?
Yeah, I got it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, finally.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna try that maybe.
yeah, so try it. So this was like so this one like before I airbrushed it, I pre-burned it with the torch. Um which I like to do because it keeps you from doing a lot of sanding. So it burns all the
Yeah,
fuzz.
burn the hairs off.
Yeah, it just burned that off. And then once I do that, then I hit it lightly with a sanding bristle. And then I just thought that I didn't want to stain the whole thing. I just wanted to kind of retain the natural grain of the wood, and then I just added some stain in it for the details, and that was just partial of it of when I just got started with.
I've always admired folks who did a great job at finishing. Um, I'm not one of them, but I could make some beautiful looking carvings and get them sanded smooth to the touch and everything. The minute I got out the stains and the other things, I was like, well, here goes. We're gonna
You know,
you know.
a lot of it is trial. A lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it is trial and error, and trying to develop that artistic eye.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you
that's
seen some of the stuff that Dave Van Antwerp has done?
uh, that name sounds familiar.
He's got another group spinoff of our group for just folks from Michigan.
Okay.
Anyway, he does uh, some amazing work. He does inlays and all
Really?
sorts of things. Yeah, I would just love to be able to sit down with him someday and do a finishing class.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, some guys
Yeah.
are really good. Same with oh, why am I blanking on names tonight? Well, I'll think of it. This is embarrassing. Anyway, it happens.
The best part's when you wake up at 3 in the morning screaming the name.
Yeah.
You read it, yeah.
Yeah, explain that one when you're screaming a guy's name.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
you know who else work I like to look at? Is it, Tom Watson. His name Tom Watson. He makes signs. I follow him also. He makes signs, and I admire the guys that actually do a lot of the painting and things like that. I admire
Yeah.
that. But
I've always stayed away from it because I find like when you're doing it for people, like a lot of it is it's taste based, right? So you might think something looks awesome and the customer thinks it's horrible. I always had a hard time, first of all, getting the amount of money that the carves are worth, and then the amount
Right.
of time,
Mhm.
and effort you put into something, and you finish it, and you're like, look at this. You're like, oh, I thought it was going to be darker. Oh, I didn't think you're going to use that color stain. Like, I'm done. Like, no more.
Yeah.
Normally,
Yeah.
if I do a 3D carve, it's got a finish on it, and that's
Yeah.
it. Like, it's got a clear protectant on it, and then I'll oil it, varnish it. I'm not staining. I don't stain or paint for
Okay.
when I do stuff at home for people.
Yeah.
I don't.
I was trying to think of Rob Schuster.
Rob
Uh-huh.
Schuster. No.
Yeah. He does all the drums.
Oh,
snare.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I'm like, any other day of the week, I'd be Rob Schuster, but
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, but the minute you try and do that, gone. Kind of funny. Um,
I
wow.
always practice. I just practice with different materials, different stains, and different techniques. Some don't turn out good, and some I can't reduplicate.
Mhm.
So and it depends
Well,
on the wood
it's
also. You can get
depends on the wood, right?
yeah.
Every piece of wood is different. Every piece of grain accepts stain differently. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Like let me see, like this one here. I don't know if this will. Let me see if this will show. Just make
I'm
sure.
very back.
Screen to show.
Just hit screen share. Yeah, there you go.
So like this one here.
Mhm.
And this was, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this was actually a single piece. And you can look at like the way it
Mhm.
just stained different. It stained different. It gave it a very unique look.
Yeah, but like you're saying, it worked out great for that. If you
Yeah,
tried to do it again, it would never work.
it would never
Mhm.
work.
Yeah,
You're
it's depending
absolutely
on the
right.
piece of wood you used.
Right.
Yep.
So I mean,
Yeah, I've stained the same board and the same type of wood on it, and it comes out a little bit lighter, a little bit darker, and people's like, well, it doesn't match my other one. I'm like, it's never gonna match.
nope.
I remember when I was a kid in high school, I saw somebody who had done this beautiful um, dresser with curly maple, right?
Oh,
All the pattern in the wood and everything. And I remember asking him, how did you stain it like that so that it would do that? Not realizing that, because I was a kid, I was in high
mhm.
school, not realizing that that was the wood that was
Right.
giving all that beauty. And
Yeah, but yeah, I'm into uh Canada Bill.
yeah,
I'll differentiate you guys. Thing is like you want a dark stain, good, I'll make it out of walnut.
yep,
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I'm not taking a piece of uh
yeah,
oak and then staining it walnut. We'll
yeah,
just do it
oh,
out of walnut, and then
yep,
I'll just clear seal it. I don't. I mean, I do bunches of pine signs that my wife will sell that are stained, but it's just anything that's of any good, I just build it out of that wood. I
yeah,
mean, it's just that's the color of the wood.
yeah. And I've never seen pine stain evenly. It's
No,
always
people always
dark
say
and
use a
light.
sanding sealer and all that. It still gets splotchy.
Yep,
Yeah, it's just it's hard to do, and the only way I do it is just stain it and seal it and go, that's what you're getting right there. That's
mhm.
that way, like, they'll bring it back or, well, I stained it and it's got these dark patches in it. I'm like, yeah, that's because you bought pine. You can't,
yeah,
you can't explain it to them. So
yeah.
just don't even try.
I hate it when a customer buys the wood and brings it in. Well, I
Yeah,
don't
I
hate
don't.
not having to spend for the wood, but what
Mhm.
you got one shot at it,
Mhm.
and
I have had
Oftentimes the wood is not the right kind for the project.
Well, I've had people do that. They'll bring me wood and say, this is from my grandfather and da, da, da. I'm like, I'll do whatever you want and I'll do it, but I'll tell you right now, just like anything else I do in this shop, you got about one or 2 in 100 chance something will screw up. And if it gets gouged, if your computer goes down or if something goes haywire, I said, there's no guarantees. That's why we have a waste percentage. I mean, how many projects have we worked on for hours and then something go wrong on the last step and you're just looking at it like, could you done that on the first step?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you
And it's
never know
always
what's going to happen.
just before you need the deadline. Yeah.
Yeah.
My first try at inlay, um, because of the color that they needed, I used yellow heart and purple heart for the inlay material. Neither of which should really ever be used for inlay because they're so stupid brittle that when you go to remove the excess, they chip. Big chips come out of it, and it's hard as all get out to begin with to try and sand it. And yeah, I got the sign all the way done. The first inlay went well. The second inlay was in and it chipped. What do? You just go back in and put your V-bit in and recarve the piece for that portion of the inlay?
You got to carve it out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
When you drop it off and turn the lights on low and go, yeah, that looks beautiful.
Yeah.
No, that's what, and especially like you're saying, I think while you're finishing, that's why most people hate it. Every flaw in that piece.
Yes.
And it can be on a wall 10 feet away. And you're
And you
like,
see it.
oh, look at that little chip down there. And you'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? And you'll have to go up and point it to them. They look at you like, are you serious? I'm like, it's still a flaw and you know it.
Right.
So none of your finishes come out the way that you expect it, pictured in your mind, which sometimes is a good thing. Like at one photo or that, your elephant thing where it's like, if
a happy accident.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's like, well, that looks pretty cool. I like that. I didn't expect that, but I'll run with that. But saying you'll never do it again. It'll never happen again. If you try to do another one, it would never work up.
You have to have that Bob Ross concept.
You ain't got the hair for that, Sally.
It's a it's a happy it's a happy tree, That's how you do it. Yeah, I never thought he even made mistakes. I look at it, I was like, man, how the heck he do that? Yeah. Yeah, the beauty of woodworking and CNC machines, you quickly find out what you're able to do and in a certain amount of time frame. And like you say, many mistakes. But I love every minute of it. I really do. I like it's frustrating sometimes it be, man. It's just the enjoyment of being able to fix it. When you figure it out, it just hits you like, oh, you know what? I could have did it this way.
I think it's more of finding a solution to something you're trying to figure out.
Right.
It's like I should be able to do this. Why can't I do this?
Right.
And you'll try it 20 different ways, and then obviously 9 times out of 10 find out it was like, well, that was stupid. Why didn't I just do this? It was the easiest thing.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm going to Texas next month to see Starbase. I'm going to go down and see SpaceX.
Oh, really?
Nice. Yeah. And I'm going to
go to Cape Canaveral next month. I think on the 9th.
Wonder if I could squeeze in 2 trips. But yeah, no, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna fly. I'm probably gonna fly into Houston.
Yeah.
see the Johnson Space Center,
Ah, man, that's
then
gonna be
drive
nice.
down to Boca Chica, which is Brownsville essentially. Uh, right down at the very tip of Texas,
Right.
and see as much of the factory yard from the outside as you can see,
Mm-hmm.
and that that'll 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 make me happy, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I'm that would be exciting because it's as long as I've been living in Florida, I've never been to Cape Canaveral. I've never been to Cape Canaveral. Matter of fact, the first time I ever came close to it was Friday when we went on the cruise.
hmm
And we boarded, you could see what it SpaceX and
yeah,
SpaceX and Space Force and NASA, all of it right there.
yeah,
I was like, wow, it's crazy. I was like, I've been in Florida most of my life, and I never came down this. Well, I
yeah.
passed by there, but I never actually just went there. So, but next
Well,
month we're actually planning a trip, and I'm going to go down there for the weekend and actually stay and
hmm
tour it. Yeah.
yep.
It's pretty
I'm
cool.
I'm hoping there, like the chances of there being a rocket launch while I'm down there are almost non-existent, even though they're planning to launch in February.
Okay.
SpaceX doesn't give you a day, where they're gonna, yeah, it's gonna be the 13th, and
All right.
everybody be there. They don't do that until like 2 days before,
Oh,
or
okay.
something like that. So, but I just want to see the stuff,
That'll be
and
nice.
yeah. So I figure I probably got to go to Cape Canaveral to see an actual rocket launch, um, at some point in the future. But
I would like to do that too. I would really would, because you know what baffles me when you see a rocket launch, I often wonder, is it fast or is it
they're
slow?
slow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It starts out
that.
slow and then goes fast.
Yeah, right, right. So I was wondering, like when it go at like I don't know, because I used to drag race. I used to drag race motorcycles, and I tell you what, I often wondered if it was similar to that when when that light turns, you just does it just take off like that, or is it like is it just like slow motion? And I
I
just
think I
yeah.
think the first 400 or 500 feet is like you're thinking to yourself, I don't think it's going to make it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of ass to get that thing moving.
Yeah.
But like you said, is that once it gets going, I mean, realistically, they just have to get it in outer space, and then it pretty well you could push it with your finger almost.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing that people don't, okay, me, when I was a kid, I didn't understand was that by the time you're in space, they're going so stinking fast that, it's unbelievable, concept wise. But I mean, they're smoking, and if you're not going that fast, you're coming back down.
Right.
You're following.
Yeah, and uh, I was like, well, why can't we just put a big 3D printer up in space and print a tether down to the Earth? Because the speed differential would break it off before it got down.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's crazy.
you
What
know,
is it? I think it's 7 miles per second that it takes to leave the Earth atmosphere, and anything under that where you'll be
I think it
stuck.
was 7 miles per second squared or something like that.
Okay.
Per second. Terminal velocity. I don't remember. It's been too long. But, yeah, I mean, I just love to see all of that stuff. Obviously, from my previous background, uh, you know, the
Yeah.
space station, and now I'm on Cocoa Beach here, waiting for to find Gene rockets to go up. Uh,
When I was in Florida, we went to the Space Center, and it's pretty cool just to walk around all the old spaceships and kind of get a glimpse of the actual, like how big they actually are.
Not
Yeah.
very.
the pure scale
The
of
capsule,
everything.
yeah. The capsules were tiny, but the rockets
It's
were
just
huge.
tiny. It's like a dot.
Yeah.
It's like literally big enough for, two people to get in, and then that's it. And all the rest of it is just fuel,
Yep.
Yeah.
right?
Um, Bill, have you gone to the Smithsonian? Have you
I
been to
have. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They have a space shuttle in the Air and Space Museum on the ground. You can walk underneath it. Literally, you could not touch the top of it if you reached up, or the bottom of the.
Right.
It's that tall. It's like a giant boxcar
Yeah.
with wings, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't really have a concept of the scale until you're standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about going to Kicker now. I always wanted to go when since I was a kid. But like I said, never got a chance. Now I'm just able to be able to take the time and actually do it. They always say you start doing stuff when you get older.
Yeah.
Like
Why wait? Don't wait.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Don't wait.
yeah. You realize the time get away from you.
You know why CNC was invented, right?
No, well, I don't.
Because they invented the helicopter and they needed a way to make the rotor blades.
Really? Wait,
That's
that was
yeah,
like what? 1949?
40s.
1940?
It was early 40s, like I don't know the exact date, but they needed a way to repeatably make the rotor blades.
So that was like
Um,
World War II era, right?
yeah, or shortly after.
Okay.
But think about that. All the stuff we're doing, these cute signs, the
Right.
the parts and everything is because somebody needed a real part and they needed it to be right. You know.
So we using it backwards. We it was made to make advanced stuff, and we kind of using it to make tinkle toys and things like that.
I
I
think that's one of
guarantee.
the reasons they came up with um, the printers
Mhm.
was to actually take one of those into outer space. So if they needed a tool or something, they could actually
Print
print
it.
the
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was an episode of Lost in Space, the new series, where they printed up a torque wrench they needed to fix the chariot. Yeah.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
How long
You
did
know,
it take?
Couple
that
hours.
was fast.
Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting about helicopters. So I have a sign shop, so I do vehicle signs and vehicle wraps graphics, but I do paint protection film as well.
Mhm.
And when I took my training through 3M, they tell you that paint protection film was originally invented for helicopters, for them to put on the blades to give the blades more life,
Mhm.
Mm,
Yep.
because
okay.
they'd constantly have to replace those rotor blades. So they
Right.
made the paint protection film for the rotor blades.
So it protects the entire blade or like the leading edge of the blade.
I didn't get that into it. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm assuming it must be at least the leading edge, if not the whole thing.
That makes sense.
Well, I know with the radio control helicopters, when we were using them, we had a plastic vinyl wrap that went around the blade from the full cord of the blade. So,
Yeah,
yep.
I mean those things get going pretty fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd think the whole blade because of the lift on the bottom, and they probably just do the whole blade.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of our stuff, a lot of the things that we have privilege to now come from either military development or like
Yeah.
out space travel. Even, like the power tools, battery tools now. Look at Bill.
Speaking of which,
Hey,
yeah, this
is
this
that
was my
which model is that? Is that one of the E-flights?
no, this is I'm gonna turn off the background. So
Okay.
let me see. Choose background none. Boom. So you can see the the thing.
Oh
This,
yeah.
this is the OMP Hobbies M2 EVO. This is fully 3D aerobatic um, helicopter, and it has no fly bar, so it's fly barless. So just pretty cool.
That looked difficult to fly.
Surprisingly, not,
Okay.
relatively speaking.
How many channels is that one?
Four, I believe.
Okay.
Or it's everything is integrated into um, this package right here, which is kind of a newer thing. But this is a combination gyroscope, accelerometer, um,
Wow.
uh, it's got the speed controller and everything built into it. So, this is the brains of the helicopter. It's got the receiver for the radio and everything in there. And this is a direct drive brushless motor under here. And there's a direct drive brushless motor on the tail too.
Oh, cool.
So no servos back there. It's just these three. Here we go. There's servos here on the opposite side and one here. And that controls it. Anyway, we've come full circle now.
Yeah. Technology is, man, now with the nanotechnology, it's just packing all that stuff into small.
Mm-hmm. But you couldn't have done this 10 years ago.
No.
It just wouldn't have worked.
That's
Anyway,
crazy. Let me see. I have
as we're probably long overdue, most of you are
that's-
wondering what time we're gonna stop. But anyway, thought that was interesting. I thought you would be interested in seeing that just because we mentioned one.
yeah. I like that type of stuff. I've always been in radio control, helicopters, um, drones, airplanes, all that.
Well,
Tell you what,
Cessna.
those new cars are crazy. My neighbor has one of those Traxxas, whatever they are.
oh yeah, they're
It'll
awesome.
haul a kid on a sled up and down the road.
What?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
skipped his across a pond. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're crazy powerful. And
Okay.
I've been flying helicopters since 1981. Back when I started, they didn't have gyroscopes, and we had to walk to school each uphill each way, and 3 feet of snow. But it was really they did not have they didn't have a lot of things. There was no gyroscope on the darn thing, and you had to learn how to control it all. But compared to that, now this thing, it's like a Ferrari compared to that.
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was doing that.
Yeah, the first one you got within like 10 seconds going in there, you crash it, broke it, and you're like,
Crashed it,
okay,
broke
that's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. That didn't happen for me, but it happened for a lot of people. And it could just as easily happen to me. But there was a kid who actually knew how to fly them, and I talked to him before I tried it. And a lot of the stupid mistakes I didn't get a chance to make.
Oh,
Pretty
that was
cool.
good. That was, yeah.
Okay, I gotta go, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
All
It's
right,
that
Billy.
time anyway. We're gonna call it for the
See
year.
it.
Everybody have a great time. If you are listening and next time you want to come and join us, we do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time via Zoom. In the CNC Router Tips group, we'll post it, and we hope to see you sometime.
All right. Have a good
Thank
one.
you, Bill, Tally. I had a wonderful time.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks.